this year. And in our club, all of the new members, we have them paired up directly with the mentor. So this is kind of a meeting specifically how to get the most out of mentorship. For me, I think a mentor is someone who allows you to see the hope inside yourself. And for those who are either a mentor or a mentee, do think about this statement very deeply and carefully, because after walking out of that meeting with your mentor, do you feel like very positive and encouraged and can see hope? If not, maybe that's not the best mentorship. And so, why is mentorship important, right? So often you think you know more than you really do, like the one on the right hand side. Maybe you're in deep in some of these learning courses, but hey, you might actually need some help. Are those actually the right courses to take or the best classes to take, right? The second one, you could avoid some mistakes in life by talking to people who have already been in your shoes. The third one, you can build network a lot faster. For example, if you reach out to a mentor who you want to really learn from, that person likely have a lot of like-minded people in his or her network, so that can help you continue to build your network faster. The fourth one is career goals, right? If you have a career goal, if you find the right mentor, that person ideally will be able to take you on this journey. The fifth one is truth, meaning that sometimes if you tell the truth and you're open to feedback, the mentor will let you know, hey, Priya, you're really good at writing. Hey, Abhijit, you're really good at looking at the camera, but you could improve in these areas. And the sixth one is improve self-esteem. A lot of us join Toastmasters. English is not our first language. We may have low self-confidence or self-esteem. This is a great place to do, to learn, and a very safe place to fail. And the last but not least one is learn to mentor. Not just on the receiving end being a mentee, but also a mentor. So now I will actually like to ask the audience here, type it into the chat, which one of these are the most important one for you? Let me see if I can see some chat here going on. Avoid mistakes. 4 and 7, career goal, learn to mentor. Okay, great. Truth, truth. 1 and 2. All right, we got almost every one of these. Okay, this is awesome. Okay, that's great, because I think this material that I actually built here actually covered a little bit about all of these. And some of you, especially those who mentioned that like, hey, I also want to be able to learn to mentor, that is awesome, because here I will also demystify some of these terms of what is actually a mentor. So the next 3 slides is gonna get a little overwhelming and a little confusing. So I just want you to like stay with me here, all right? Because mentor, especially in the Silicon Valley, I know Cedric actually did a really, really amusing talk. If you guys haven't heard it, definitely reach out to him, because he talked about, he was like, wow, before I come to Silicon Valley, I didn't know such mentorship is a thing. Everyone has a mentor. Why do we all need a mentor? That talk was hilarious. So if we have time towards the end of it, we should definitely ask Cedric to say a few words as well. So there's a concept of like mentor versus coach. Mentor is, for some of the definition, people say that it's a domain relevant mentor who can really pass on these information to you, because someone who has been in Toastmaster for 6 years, I probably have a lot of domain knowledge to share with those who are just joining Toastmaster. The coach are the ones that are specifically trained coach who provide guidance to a client on their goals. For example, I have a life coach, I have a career coach. I want to say that like, how do I improve my leadership skills to specifically focus more on building a vision, right? Or how do I find a job that I want to wake up to every single day and give it 120%? Those are a little bit high level, arbitrary kind of goals that I like to talk to my coach about. So this is one type of definition, mentor versus coach. Now, I did so much research, I realized this space is crowded. Liz, this lady, if you guys search coachmentoring.co.uk, give a very different definition of mentor. She, in fact, almost put like coaching as parts of it, right? A mentor for her right now, you can see that there's the direct, the non-direct, and then the career function, and also the psychosocial support. And you can see from the top part, if you follow this circle here, mentors, some of them could be a performance coach. Some of them are your sponsor. Everywhere you go, that the person's going to say great things about you. For example, everywhere I go, I will probably be Abhiji's biggest sponsor. I would say that Abhiji has helped me so much. Like I am his biggest sponsor, honestly, in Toastmasters community. Guiding, right? Like for example, do I need to guide certain people to do certain work, have a direct guidance type of mentorship? Or role model. I'm mentoring another lady right now. We are currently trying to find a role model that she wants to become as a speaker. Like she and I were talking about it. Okay, we both like Obama, but do we want to talk like Obama? We both like Michelle Obama. Do we like to talk like her? We like Sheryl Sandberg. Do we want to talk like her? So based on like kind of our strength and our language background, who is the most appropriate role model for us? That's where she and I are actually talking regularly to figure out who we want to become, like finding that role model, right? The next one, professional friends who you can potentially bounce ideas off of or get visibility in a different department, either internally or externally on where your career is going. Thinking partner, what is the meaning of life? Questions like that, right? 42 it is. But who do they think actually the same as you? So this, or can you actually find someone who think exactly 180% different or three, right, 180-degree different from you? Maybe you are a Republican and you want someone who's Democrat. Can you guys be friends and talk about that, right? This way you're more well-rounded. Um, and sounding board. If you have a great idea, how do you have a sound? Can you have a mentor who is your sounding board to say that? Like, for example, this time I asked Abhiji, I was like, what should I talk about in mentorship? He gave me these gigantic slides that Toastmasters actually put together and all of these PDFs. He's my sounding board every time I'm about to present something. And challenger, like for example, in the career function, I want to increase my next leadership ability, take on a project that I've never done before, or build a skill set that's completely outside of my comfort zone. This mentor could potentially play that role for you. See, this lady, Liz, she actually defines mentor a little bit different from sometimes just a very traditional way of saying mentor versus like coaching, right? And for me, after reading so much stuff, this actually works pretty well for me. So I just thought to touch on this one, the 5 types of mentors. Like the first one, the master of craft, right? This is someone that you turn to when you have the new ideas, new initiatives. The champion of your cause or the sponsor. Who do you go, who can actually be in the room to say that Abiji is great, even without Abiji being there. Abiji, when he turns away, he will know that Renee will not say a bad thing about me, right? Do you have the champion of your cause kind of a person within your organization or within your ecosystem that you find important in? Co-pilot. Co-pilot is someone that you actually go talk to, having a coffee chat about like what's going on here, and you can navigate at different personalities within actually the company. Ideally, it's someone that maybe is like cross department that maybe knows certain area more than you do. For me, I actually have like 2 or 3 co-pilots. I sit in the healthcare team. I have someone that actually is in analytics and someone that's actually in self-driving car team. This way, for me, from a video perspective, I actually have a more holistic view of what's going on in the company. And the next one, anchor. Anchor is someone that I would say it doesn't have to be a colleague. It could be a friend. It could be your family member. It's someone that you wholeheartedly just trust and know that this person has your back and can ask any questions. And the last but not least one, which is a very fun one, which is a reverse mentor. For me, being a mentor to somebody, the mentees actually, if we have this reverse mentorship, I can also say that like, hey Priya, if we are being mentor and mentee together, can you give me feedback on my leadership style? Can you let me know what actually resonate well, right? So this reverse mentorship is also really, really important. So I want to pause real quick. If you guys can type it into the chat to say that like, what type of mentors are you currently looking for, 1 to 5? 1, okay, master craft, someone that can bounce ideas off of. 2, champion of your cause. That's a hard one to find, isn't it? It's actually really hard to find a sponsor. Like for honestly, for Abhiji and I, Abhi, how many years do we know each other? Like 2 years?
2 years, yes.
2 years, right? And honestly, for me, for Abhiji to maybe feel comfortable of leaving me in a room and know that I will 100% say great things about him actually took us on this really intense journey that we actually had for quite some time. Because for the first year, Abhijit and I rarely talk. We're just both in and speak. And afterwards, it was late last year when I decided to do the evaluation contest. And he just jumped in. He was just like, Renee, let me help you prepare. And I want you to win this. So it was an intense, like 2, 3 weeks of preparation. Every day I see him, and then we review talks and I do evaluation. Some of you guys have already heard that story. But because of the giving part that Abhijit has done from his side, I completely have his back because he just gave so much at the very beginning. And for me, in that case, I was actually a mentee, right? And I want to also generously give back to Abhijit. So whenever I can, if I can help out Abhijit, I will. Words is saying some great things about him is the least that I can do. So it takes time, it takes work to really put in, to really figure out like who can be the champion of your cause. And Master of Craft, actually, many of you guys have talked, are actually thinking of looking for the mentor like that. That's actually very interesting because as soon as you start asking people like, oh, can you be my mentor? People are like, oh my God, I don't have time for this. Especially those you want to actually ask for like new ideas and new initiatives, right? These are people you really want to learn from. So instead of doing that, like keep it short and don't make the title official. Honestly, I never officially asked Abhijit, Abhi, can you be my mentor? That sentence never came out of my mouth. He jumped in, I reciprocated, I did what he asked me to do, and just back and forth ping pong. I kind of just labeled the relationship as a mentorship experience. So just keep that in mind when you want to find your master of craft. These are busy people that you want to learn from. You don't have to make it formal as long as you get the benefit out of that. As confusing as the last 3 slides were, how people define mentors, I would say some very consistent qualities of mentors are available, patient, sensitive, respectful, flexible, supportive, knowledgeable, confident, a very good listener, and concerns for others. So in this scenario, right, like I would say really evaluate some of the mentors and mentees that you have. Are they all of these, or are they some of these that you find to be the most important? For example, when Abby asked me, Renee, can you take on more mentees? I was like, I'm already like mentoring like 4. I don't know if I can take on the 5th one to still give them the quality of mentorship that I prefer. How about let me focus on these for the 6 months and then let's reevaluate it. Because Claudia and I, we in the audience, Claudia here is my mentee. She and I doesn't meet on a regular basis, but when she actually needs a PowerPoint slides and some opinion, she'll ask me, hey, Renee, can you take a look at the slides? Because you actually know this audience a little bit better than my current experience. So she perhaps find one or these qualities as very important in this mentorship that we have. If she's gonna try to find like think that like, oh, Renee's gonna be there available 24/7, I probably will be a very, very bad mentor for her in that kind of scenario. So put it in the chat, type in like what qualities do you find to be the most important for your mentor next. Just want to see what's your opinion, and this way I can add additional color if needed. Empathy, good one. I didn't even put it there, did I? Confident. That's interesting. Great. Abhijit, could you maybe come off mute and say a few things about how important empathy is?
Sometimes what happens is like I'm in a situation where I don't know how to address it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I go back to my mentor, then he can help me just understand it first, listen to me, but then also empathize with what situation I'm in, and also look at misunderstand, let me understand what my needs are in that situation. That
Mm.
really helps me to figure out what I need to do. I don't necessarily need the direction, but just empathizing with me helps me to sort myself out.
Abhi, I think that's such a good point that you brought up, because it's not just, like sharing that empathy is an important trait for mentors' quality, but what you just said is, this is what I need from this mentor. I don't need specific, like maybe nitty-gritty details on how to do this. I just need a direction, right? How many of us as mentees have actually directly communicated to the mentors, this is the way that I prefer to get information. So that's something to keep in mind, that when you are in a partnership, mentorship, are you clear? Have you actually communicated to your mentors how you'd like to receive information? Um, Great. Claudia, I love creativity. I love the knowledgeable, patient, supportive. That's great. Great listeners, concern for others and supportive. Awesome. Great. Awesome. Great, great, great. Thank you guys for working with me here and participating in the chat. So doing great here. So how should the mentees actually be, right? I've been on both ends, and for me, eager to learn, receptive, open to new ideas, loyal, and grateful. And I highlighted the 2, 3, and 4 because those are the most important ones for me personally, as a mentee. And let me just share an anecdotal story. Lindy McLean recently became my mentor. I was so dying to have her be my mentor for the longest time, because ever since Abby and I were practicing that evaluation contest, her speech like put me in tears. That's how powerful her speech was. But for me, I actually have a challenging time to really show strong emotions whenever I deliver a personal speech. And in fact, I shy away from it. So when 2 weeks ago she jumped on this call with me, she was like, I asked her, can you be my mentor? She was like, oh, that depends. I was like, oh no, I'm gonna get rejected. And then she said, Renee, if you want to sign up for to be my mentee, I will ask you to do one thing, to be open to like new ideas. And I was like, of course I'm open to new ideas. She was like, no, I mean, like, when you're doing your next speech, I'm going to ask you to do something that's completely outside of your comfort zone. I want you to do it. It doesn't matter if you like it or not, but you're going to do it, and then we can evaluate after. I was like, all right, I sign me up, sounds great. And that's such a refreshing and unique perspective, right? She's not trying to make me into her, but she's trying to figure out what is my strength and why am I a little bit emotionally uh I don't want to say emotionally challenged, but I have a hard time really showing emotions and I don't really like to talk about a lot of very sensitive things that's happened in my life, which leads me to the fourth point here is loyal, because I share with Lindy a lot of things that I have not shared with anyone besides my close circle of group of friends. And somehow, even it's my first time actually directly talking to her, she gave me this vibe that she's going to keep my secrets. And for all of you guys out there looking for a mentor or looking to be a mentor, try to figure out how to create this safe environment for your mentee. And mentee, look for someone who can really keep your secret. So let's type it into the chat again, just to see like which of these are kind of the most important for you as a mentee in this phase, if you are a mentee. Or maybe something like, actually, I'm kind of weak in this area. This is very important. I didn't realize this and I want to really work on it. So 1 to 5, which one of these is resonated well with you? 1 and 3, open to new ideas, eager to learn. Receptive, great. 1, 3, 5, 2, and 5. Receptive and grateful. Mira, would you like to maybe come off mute a little bit and talk about grateful? Just to say that like a little bit why that is extremely important. And I'll pick a few others who maybe
Sure.
selected
Uh,
1 and 2.
yes, I would pick grateful because the mentor is really concerned and caring. My mentor is Abhijit, and I'm really grateful to him because they put the effort, the mentor will put the effort to you to make you a much bigger person. So that really is something that I really appreciate, and I'm so grateful for the talk that you are doing today because this is the first time I'm seeing this chat idea, and it's really good to be interactive. And thank you for mentoring us in this session.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Cedric, would you like to come off mute about eager to learn?
Well, a little bit like what you said, being receptive and eager to learn is, for me as a mentor, it's very important. It's very important for me that the mentee be receptive and eager to learn, because otherwise I don't see how I can bring much into their life or into their skills or help them improve if they're not. And I feel that if they're not, then probably we're not a good mentor-mentee pair, and maybe they'll be more receptive to someone else, some other perspective. So that's why I think for me to tell it's a good match, these two things are very important.
That's great. Awesome. Thank you guys. You guys are just rounding up my ideas and amplifying it across the board. So I love this. This is great. A joke for you all. I love jokes. So this mentee is telling the mentor, your advice is very important to me. So I wrote down exactly what I want you to say. It's funny because surprisingly, actually, a lot of us, some of us are like that. You walk into a place and walk into a room and you hope the mentor will tell you exactly what you wanted to hear, confirmational bias, right? So really think hard about this. If you decide to have this mentorship, be open to change and be really receptive of the ideas. Okay, so now tips on some mentorship. How to actually be able to do a successful mentorship, no matter if you want to mentor someone or be menteed, be a mentee, or keep a longer mentorship duration, right? First of all is have different mentors for different purposes. I personally have 12 mentors. If now I'm gonna like quickly count, right? I have 4 in Toastmasters. I have Abhijit as one, I have Lindy, I have Evelyn, who's actually a lot better in writing, Evelyn, and then I have Declan, who is my #1 first mentor ever, and he was the one that actually helped me get out of my comfort zone. So I have like 4 in Toastmaster just to mentor me, and I have 2 in life. I have 4 at work, and I have 2 that's like a lot longer term for like executives in the industries that I really look up to, that hope to become. So have different mentors for different purposes. None of us are perfect. Figure out what you want to improve and find the specific mentors there. Articulate your goals. That's very, very important, because sometimes not all the mentorship is going to last a very long time. I would say the very intense work that Abhijit and I did, right? That's about a month. The goals was very specific. I want to win the evaluation contest. He put in mechanisms in place, and we took one step at a time to win that. And when I'm currently working with Lindy, goal is very specific. I want to get my emotions behind the words, and I want to talk about sensitive topic and feel comfortable with it. When I went to Evelyn, the goal is very specific. I want her to help me figure out better word choices for things that I'm writing, right? And Declan always challenged me to take my speech to the next level, challenged me to be funny, right? And I am not very funny, so that's something that I'm working on. So articulate your goals to your mentor, extremely important. Number 3, come to meetings prepared. So for example, currently at work, there's during this NVIDIA Woman in Tech, I got paired up with a different mentor. I go to the meeting very specifically. I would say that like, hey, my current, last week we did this situational leadership workshop. And in that workshop, they put together this like framework of like S1, S2, S3, S4 leaders. And during the entire survey, I answered a lot of questions, and I was like, okay, I'm actually an S3 type of leader. Basically, like all of my employees will talk, and then I decide. Like I will let the employees decide on the final outcome. So this is a kind of like a leader who has really high relationship and low task type of a leader. And then I send out a survey to those I wanted to get a better understanding. What do they think of me? And the survey results came back. They said, oh, Renee is much more of an S2 type of leader instead of S3 that I thought I was. S2 type of leader is a lot more like, everyone talk and I'm going to decide. So it's a lot more like high task and high relationship. And I was like, why is that different? So I went to my mentor to say that, hey, this is the results. How do I bridge the gap there, and what do I need to do, right? So I go to the meeting very prepared, saying that these are all the research I did. This is what I want to focus on. For those who haven't looked into situational leadership, it's super, super helpful. I highly encourage it. Next thing is ask what cannot be Googled. If you honestly only have 15 minutes with this mentor, what do you want to get out of, right? This is something that I actually took from Ali Miller from AWS, because she is also really big on Instagram to talk about mentor and mentee, and that really resonated well with me. If you're going to be able to find something on Google, why would you want to even ask this mentor of yours and take precious time out of your life to do that, right? The next thing is be honest. For example, if you have someone at work that's actually your mentor, but honestly, you're not really happy about your job, can you find someone within your organization to talk about that, right? And being honest, showing vulnerability will be able to give the mentor actually more cards to work with and to be able to share with you their opinion. Um, provide reflection on learning. This is so important, because this is not just about like a mentorship. This is also in the future, if you decide to run your own company, a startup, you have advisors. Advisors, when they give you like opinions after the session, send them an email, send them a Slack message, send them whatever messages that you have to say, hey, Renee or so and so, thank you for being my mentor. I learned 1, 2, 3, and this is what I will do 1, 2, 3. And just having that reflection back to any of the mentors that you have is extremely helpful, because for that mentor specifically, I will be that mentor can actually improve over time, right? And be able to provide better service for future mentees. The next thing is say thank you. I think I really like Mira's point earlier of being grateful. That's a very good point there. And the next thing is give generously to your mentors. They decide to take several minutes out of their day and night to support you. And if there is anything that you can support them, ask. And every time I go into a mentorship, I always ask, how can I help you in return? Honestly, I have to share this because Abhijit, when you first decided to help me, I was like, Abhi, why are you helping me? What do you need? What do you want? I feel guilty getting help from Abhi. I feel like if I cannot give him generously in return, I feel like this is not going to be a long-lasting mentorship. So I almost have that guilt of like, if I cannot provide value for my mentor, I almost feel like I don't deserve to be in this mentorship. So keep that in mind in the back of your head. Everyone thinks a little bit differently, but what can you also contribute to your mentor as a mentee? So now I'm going to pause real quick because I just talked for a good 10 minutes. Which one of these are you not very good at and hope to improve in the next 3 to 6 months? Oh, Claudia said, okay, 8 and 1. Okay, great. 1, okay. 2, articulate your goals. 1. All right. Claudia, we haven't heard from you yet. Could you talk a little bit more about like the first one? Why is finding different mentors for a different purpose maybe a bit something that maybe you haven't really focused on currently?
Yeah. First of all, thanks for this talk. This is really educational so far. I think it's also been hard to compartmentalize my life, like the areas that I want to improve on and drawing like clear boundaries. I think that's the first step to find a mentor for each of these areas. And that's something I haven't sat down to dedicate the time to doing. It's much easier if there's one person who has everything that you want and you know, 10 years from now, you want to be exactly that person. I definitely have not come across anyone like that in my life. So I have to do a little bit more of the pre-work.
That sounds great. Claudia, hopefully you find many mentors that will be able to help you on your on this journey of wherever you're going. Great. So, Joanna, great to see you. Great to have you with us. Could you talk about number 2, articulate your goals? Why is that an area that you hope to improve on or hope to pay more attention to? Joanna, if you're with us, please feel free to come off mute.
Sure, I'm out and about, but
no worries.
I saw about this webinar and it looked really cool. The point number 2 about goals that I have an issue with, I kind of find that the people I ask to be my mentor, when I start meeting with them, they do a lot of talking, and it ends up that I feel like I'm serving them in terms of they needed someone to share either what's going on with their lives, their concerns, their stresses. And I'm a little bit aghast because, of course, these are senior people that I respect. I'm not going to interrupt them and say, hey, your topic is really your own business and mine is more important than your life. No. So there has to be this fine balance, of course, but it is very hard to get my points across because I respect people when they talk and I don't interrupt them, and I don't really feel like being pushy because these are senior people. These are people with a ton of work experience.
Absolutely, absolutely. I honestly can't agree with you more, Joanna. Like I have to share with you, I have some industry Fortune 500 CEOs as my mentor. I have companies like SVPs as my mentor, and I share the same thing that Joanna just mentioned. Sometimes they go on the phone and then just be like, they start talking about themselves, about like how they started the company and all of those things. And I was like, okay, I probably didn't do a good job. So I went into the meeting right before the meeting. I just end up saying that like, hey, today I would really love to talk about these things. So even up before that, I send an email, and right before the meeting starts, I will make sure that I actually regurgitate like what I would love to get out of the meeting. And of course, they can go into a little bit, but they always end up coming back to say that, oh, Renee, back to the topic that you want to talk about. Let's address that. So I think articulating your goals will also help out to not have these very busy executives just jump on a call and talk about themselves. So Joanna, thank you so much for pointing out that number 2 is such an important one to work on. Thank you. Thank you. All right. For number 1, I wonder if there's a way to assess how to find the right mentor for a specific topic. Oh, that's a great one. So how do I pronounce your name? With 2 vowels.
Hi, that's Ekta.
Ekta, great, great. Do you want to maybe share with us a little bit why it's currently challenging?
Yeah, sure. So, um, if I'm looking for a mentor who's probably working in the same organization as I am, specifically, like for professional topics, I guess it's easier for me to assess that, maybe I should reach out to X person versus Y on this specific topic, just because of the association with them or with the work experience. But I wonder, like outside work, if I were to look for a mentor on specific topic, for example, maybe to improve my written communication, or maybe to just handle, like somebody said initially, to handle emotions and like to keep them out, outside the work communication. So I'm not really sure what might be the best way to pick the right mentor.
Yeah, that's actually a very good one, but then I'm going to ask you to hold just for a minute, and because I'm
Sure.
actually going to come to that slide, how to find and keep the right mentor. So you're teeing me up perfectly for the next 2 slides to come. So thank you so much, and let's keep going to the next slide. Thank you for a very engaging audience today. So I know many of you guys joined this because of Toastmasters, so I just want to share a little bit about like Toastmasters specifically, what you can potentially think about in terms of topics, right? Oh, topics, did I spell that right? Yeah. Looks interesting to me today. Okay. So for Toastmasters specifically, sometimes the mentees or members in the club will say, I don't know what I want to talk to the mentors about. So here are a couple of things you could. For example, pathway walkthroughs, which one is the most important or interesting one for you? Sounding board for ideas. If you have like 2 ideas, can ask the mentor which one is funnier if you're doing the humor speech contest. Script revisit. I ended up rewriting my script like 3 or 4 times with Lindy herself, and she regurgitated like several paragraphs to the top and then move it to the bottom and say that maybe use this word instead, and revisit the script with your mentor is a very good one. Find your voice. I'm trying to find that very emotional and sensitive voice when I need to get to it during a very personal speech, and I haven't found that yet. Find the right words. I think Ravi, last time when Evelyn gave you the feedback when you were doing you're about to drown, right? That speech, she just immediately threw out a couple words of how to make it more impactful. And that was such a great evaluation session that I just learned so much about. How do we add humor? Louisa, Abhijit actually invited Louisa to join us to talk a little bit more about humor. And for her, I think one thing that I really learned so much about is sometimes you have these vulnerable moments that you have in your life. If you can sit on it, let it heal. And when it's actually healed and you can look back and laugh at that, that becomes humorous material. So I think adding humor, there's we actually on the womanleadtm.com, the webpage, there's a blog section. We actually wrote about her humorous workshop last week. And we will also have her coming up. Is it in April, Abhijit?
April 7th.
April 7th. So for those who want to learn a little bit more about humor, another great workshop from Louisa, who is an award-winning champion in humor speech contest. I think it was second place, right?
Yep, in World Championship 2019.
World Championship, yep. And sometimes I watch the prep videos. So I know that like Abhijit actually watches a lot of the prep videos from his mentor, like Lakshmi and a couple others. They will send him recorded videos of them practicing the speeches, and then Abhi will give them advice accordingly. This way you don't have to commit to like a 30-minute time slot and jump on a call. Instead, go through Slack channels and send them prepared videos and then get feedback. Contest prep, which I have shared a little bit about evaluation contests earlier. Things on leadership and life are also good topics. For one of my mentees who unfortunately due to her work, she couldn't actually come to any of the regular Wednesday meetings that we have every other week, but she and I continue to have this mentor-mentee relationship on a monthly basis. We talk about her work, we talk about maybe some of the other workshops that she wants to go to or lead, and we talk about her life. And this is what Toastmasters is all about, right? It's about the people that's in this community. We help each other out. And last week, there's another mentee of mine who's just super stressed out, just started crying because burnt out during this entire pandemic. Hey, that's what I'm here for, because I'm here to reassure her she's not the only one that's feeling like that. And ended up, I started crying with her because the topics you really want to write about, she was kind of hesitant about it. I was like, do it, because you're going to touch so many of us in exactly the same way. So these are all great topics to talk about. Any other topics that you guys like to share with folks actually here in chat, to say like, what else have you talked to your mentors about in some of the sessions?
Their potential.
Potential, great one. I need to like write this in my notes. It's great, their potential. I feel like that's me. Because you saw like some stuff that I have hidden inside of me and say, Renee, I think you have the potential to do X, Y, and Z. I was like, oh, Avi, do I? And it's great to hear from someone, to be able to say, to believe in me, to say, okay, I can actually do this. What else? What other topics have you and your mentor and mentee talk about in some of these Toastmasters mentorship sessions? Or you can talk about certain tactics like, improve vocal variety or anything like that.
Some feel-good ways to motivate yourself and to keep going. Some TED Talks, or what are the things that you can add to your regular routine to keep it lively, keep it more engaging.
Awesome. Priya, you touch on a couple things there: motivation, right, and engagement, and how do you keep on finding passion? How do you actually, a lot of times for us to be able to improve as a speaker or writer or reader, right, is actually to develop that sense of like eyes, and how do you look at things, how do you hear things. So once you have a repository of things, then you can start actually benchmark them to say, okay, out of all of these things that I have read, I am a little bit here, not as far as upright as I thought I am. So that's really good. Thank you, Priya. Tailoring content for audience, Claudia, that's great. Cedric talked about how to be a good mentor to my mentee. That is awesome. Cedric, I would like to come back to this point after my next slide. Claudia, would you like to share a little bit about tailoring content for audience specifically?
Sure. in my last meeting with Renee, my mentor, she helped me look at the presentation that I had just given, knowing that the next time I was going to give the presentation was going to be to a different audience, an audience of MBA students, an audience that I am not very familiar with, but she is. So in terms of what the audience already knows and what might resonate with them, it was helpful to get mentor feedback on.
Thank you, Claudia. And to add a little bit context, right? Claudia did the presentation in Toastmaster, and for our audience that's very, very diverse. And then she said, hey, Renee, I still have a month to prepare for this. How can I edit this? So she and I jumped on a quick call to talk about what do the MBA students really care about, especially those ones that are actually, you know, in finance specifically. And her topic specifically is about climate change. How do you actually merge climate change to a group of people who care so much about finance and numbers? So we talked a little bit about that. And then afterwards, she went on and revisited slide deck and presented to a complete different group and still fine tuning it. So that's a very good one. Claudia, thank you for sharing. Almira said, listening to some great speakers such as J.K. Rowling to understand the traits of why their speech is so powerful. Oh, this is a great one. Mira, would you like to come off mute and share a little bit about what were some of the traits that you learned that was actually powerful?
So I was listening to the commencement speech from J.K. Rowling at Harvard. So initially she started cracking a joke and she talked about how her life is so vulnerable. And what I learned from there is even in my life, all of us have a lot of ups and downs. So while giving a speech, try to be vulnerable and then talk about your findings. So that way, if it's really personal, you will be so emotional, and you would also be able to uh, tell others what you have learned from your own life.
I can't agree more. That's a very, 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 very good topic. Thank you for sharing that with us. And it's actually interesting because sometimes these like very powerful traits could work really well for some of these really good speakers, but sometimes not very much for us because we haven't mastered how to do that naturally. So it's good to evaluate what are some of the tactics certain speakers use and be able to see what is the best way to incorporate that into our speeches. Okay, now it's coming to my final slide. Can you guys see it this okay? Okay. Oh, 1 second. My video had a little glitch. Back on? Okay, back on. Okay, great. So this is the slide that I think, who was the one that, oh, Ikta?
That's it.
That's very terrible with names that you also earlier mentioned, right? So I want to touch on this. How do you find the best mentor? Find the ones that actually in the specific area, right? Because sometimes it's okay to actually walk away from the mentor that's not a good fit. So first of all is find someone that you want to be like. I think this is figure out like the categories that you like and then find someone that's doing really well in that space. And then the second thing is very important. Study that person. This is something that we don't do enough because have you spent enough time to study this person, right? Instead of just say, oh, this person actually did a really good webinar talk. But do you know like, oh, is this person generous? Is this person available? Is this person's the way that like he or she talks about things? Like, is he actually a good listener? Or like what Joanna was saying, no, they're just going to jump on the call and talk about themselves. And no matter how much I'm going to articulate my goals, they don't care about me. And study that person, but not just study if it's like a good personal fit or not, but also study what that person's care about. Like for example, if someone wants to have me as their mentor, it's a very quick, easy search to realize on any of the Google searches, Renee is interested in competitive ballroom dancing. Renee is interested in reading books. Renee is interested in Toastmasters. Renee is really good friends with Abhijit, right? So if I don't know you personally, these are a couple of things that you could potentially find common grounds to use that as an opening dialogue with me to say that, hey, Renee, I went to your Toastmasters, whatever workshop, and I am also a friend of Abhijit. See, immediately you kind of close the gap a little bit and then be able to get to the next one, make the ask. And after you make the ask, then evaluate it. this person, if you ended up, going to this meeting with him or her and coming out of the meeting, just feel like crap, don't go back again. Why would you like to waste your time to go to a meeting or that's gonna just feel like a downer afterwards? Honestly, believe it or not, a lot of people say that their mentors are not the best mentors out there either, because their personality is very different from yours. They sometimes are not that empathetic to your needs, right? So it's okay to let yourself know that, okay, I evaluated this mentor. He and she is really not a good fit for me. Maybe that person is better for other people, right? So really evaluate that. And then after that, then like follow up after the meeting. Like I said earlier, in email summary to say that thank you for telling me X, Y, and Z things, and I work on X, Y, and Z things. The next one is let the relationship evolve organically. I said organically, mainly this is a very important one is because depends on the person that you ask, right? That's your mentor. I probably can't jump on call every single week with Abhijit to say, Abhijit, the next presentation, can you like do the same thing as the evaluation contest and have spent an hour with me every day? That probably doesn't work, right? And for example, my mentor, who's a Fortune 500 CEO, I meet with him once a year, and I go in with content and topics that may be interesting for both of us. And you can't really force this relationship, right? And even with Claudia, who's on the call here, like she and I, my relationship as a mentor-mentee relationship here isn't very like, oh, let's meet once a month. It's whenever she needs help, she will ping me. But for some of the other ones, like earlier I mentioned the person who couldn't actually join the biweekly Toastmaster meeting, we meet regularly on a monthly basis because I don't want to lose touch with her. I don't want her to feel like she's abandoned going into a new job and things like that. So let the relationship evolve organically. Don't check out when you feel challenged. I laugh at this is because there was challenge could be many different ways, right? Like sometimes could even be how do you get onto this person's calendar? There was a senior vice president, I ended up had to reschedule a meeting 5 times just to get on that calendar. Towards the end of it, I was just like, oh my God, I think he's like politely trying to tell me he doesn't want to meet with me. But it wasn't the case. He was just super busy. After I finally got on the call, he was like, yeah, I'm really, really busy, but hey, let's talk about what you need. I really am invested in this relationship. So don't check out. Like if you really think this is a good person and good fit for you, keep at it. Ask your mentor for feedback. How are you doing as a mentee? How can you do better, or how can you potentially provide more insights and things, and also commit to the process. Like for example, now I'm committed to Lindy's process of trying new things in my next speech. So for those of you who are going to be continually watching me delivering speeches, be warned, I'm going to try something very unique and out of comfort zone, and don't laugh at me if it doesn't work. So I'm just going through the process and committing to it and leveraging the safe place to fail and learn quickly. All right, that's all the slides I have, and I really wanted to leave the last 10 minutes to come off mute, come off camera, if you feel comfortable to ask any of us questions, because honestly, I'm here because I learned from this community. You guys, and many of you guys are just as knowledgeable as I am. Any additional questions? Hi, Joanna. Great to see you.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So say if we have a mentor, I have a mentor or someone I want to talk to, but talking to them is the only way I can get my questions answered. But talking to them is a bit frightening. It's not either due to some consequences or due to some past experiences. But I have to talk to them to get my questions answered. In such a situation, what would you advise me to do?
I would, first of all, figure out how that person like to be communicated to, like from the technology mechanism perspective. For example, is it email? Is it Slack? Is it a text message? Is it, I don't know, LinkedIn, right? Number one, figure out where that person usually is the most receptive in terms of emailing back or talk to you back. And then the second thing is, instead of saying that, hey, I want to get 10 minutes of your time to talk about things that I think it's important, be more specific to say, hey, I will really want to talk to you about why is this battery life for this thing not work out really well. If you really need that person's opinion, right, ask a very short and to the point and concrete and very narrow questions to get the answers you need. And then naturally after that, then you might be able to just get a back and forth discussion over chat. Try that. Hopefully that will work. That works for me for sure, because there are people that I am intimidated to reach out to. Hey, if anyone on this call have other brilliant ideas, come off mute and tell Mira what's the best way to reach out to someone who you maybe find intimidated and it's not as responsive. Anyone else have any brilliant ideas?
You can also forewarn them what is coming so that they are ready. Because sometimes if getting the mentor ready, also like creating that empathetic space matters. Once you create that space, becomes easy to share anything you have. So
the other thing is you can maintain notes from the previous meeting and make sure that in this meeting you cover up those notes, or at least have responses to each of the topics that you discussed earlier. So that will make it more interesting for the mentor to also look at what progress you've made so far.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions, comments?
Actually, there was a comment. So regarding the question, how to approach a person who you are intimidated by. So I had this during my master's, I had this prof, my actually supervisor slash mentor, and I was really afraid to talk to him because we weren't making progress at time to time. And the first part of your speech, maintain a communication channel always open. That's the first link. The second point is keep them small, I guess 2 or 3 pointed emails, and just put a question at the end of it. They definitely get back to you whenever they have the time. And I used to get my responses at 3 a.m. But the point is, I used to get my responses that very day, which is what counts. So at least this is what I felt, that just keep them one-liner updates that also work, and then ask your question in the email. That works.
Yeah, and I have to piggyback on top of that. You just reminded me of Ali Miller from AWS. She shared that, she will be following, depends on the situation, right? Is it like an urgent topic or not? But sometimes she has her eyes on these 2-3 people that she really want them to be her mentor. And what she ends up doing is actually she's so patient for a whole year long, follow everything that person is on and read everything that person is posting, like really study the person. And hey, when the opportunity hits, door just open for her, and then she like sees the moment, because these are like influencers or like maybe like Obama, like president level. Be patient. If you set a goal, you will figure out exactly how to get there by asking many people here. But I have seen that done, and she was proudly talking about it on some of her Instagram videos. So be patient also. Yeah. Any other comments, questions?
I have a question. You mentioned in your speech that you have 12 mentors. That sounds like a lot. Do you think there's like an optimal like number to aim for or advice to balance the number of mentors that we bring into our life?
Yeah, it's not like a magic number or anything. In fact, I have seen people have like 20 mentors, even more. Wow. Because there are some people that only want to commit once a year. At the beginning of the year, let me update you on some of my goals, and then go from there, right? For example, the mentorship you and I have is very informal. It's like whenever you need it. So it's not like a super huge burden on any of us, right? And that goes back to that point of finding the right mentor for the categories that you care about. If you have this category and you honestly just don't have anyone that's currently in your mentor's area that knows how to give you advice, why wouldn't you go outside and find another mentor? You want to focus on humor speech. Honestly, all of your mentor are serious corporate people, don't even know how to crack a joke. Why would you say I don't want to go find someone who's actually funny, right? Figure out what you want and then just figure out if within the current environment, do you have those people as your mentor? If not, go find someone. Don't let the number kind of like intimidate you. Just figure out the cadence that you can actually commit to the partnership or commit to the mentorship, and then just go from there.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Questions, comments? We have 3 minutes left.
Renee, can you call upon the people who haven't spoken even once?
Yeah. Sina, are you there with us? Ashtosh, are you there with us?
Yeah, I'm here, but I've been like multitasking.
It's all good. Your presence is important. So hopefully you got a couple things took away after listening to some parts of the slides.
Yeah, I actually like the steps that you've written to find and approach a mentor. Maybe I can try. Like, I've been guilty of not having mentors for every aspect of my life. I have coaches for certain aspects. I have Abhijit as a mentor for Toastmasters, but the rest of my life is still like in shambles. So I guess I need to think about that. But it's pretty difficult to find time to do all of this, and that's one of my challenges. And as I keep like bringing in more aspects into my life, uh, sports or studies or work or music or like just maintaining social contacts with friends, all of this takes away a lot of time from me that is not really like, I think, possible for me to find time to like uh, generate new mentorship relations and maintain them. So I think that is one aspect that I will need to work on.
So for me, you know what I do? I'm definitely a calendar master scheduler. If it's not on my calendar, I will forget. So if mentorship is a priority for you, schedule it on your calendar. This is an hour that I'm going to reach out. This is an hour that I'm going to follow up, and just have it on your calendar so you stare at it. However, way that you actually can keep yourself productive, use that mechanism to keep yourself in check and find the time in your life, because you're absolutely correct. We have so many competing priorities, but once it's on, at least for me, once it's on my calendar, I'm going to go do it. So yeah. Sina, good to see you. How was your experience?
Good, good. So I have actually been planning to meet you guys on the Wednesday calls, but it's too late for me, so I've never been able to. But I love the session, the points that you made, especially the different areas of mentorship. Like I had never thought of in that manner. So that was very interesting to know like how many areas are there and how many mentors you can find. I've also had the challenge to schedule, like if you do bi-weekly meetings, if you do monthly meetings, it's like you have to figure out all that scheduling with each of your mentors. So thank you for the session, and yeah, it was good. Thank you.
Thank you, Sina. If you can't make any of the sessions, of course, we have recorded talks in the blog format. Like Priya actually just posted a post-show blog about the Marines talk on how to overcome imposter
syndrome.
So yeah, so you can take a look at that recording, and that's on our womenleadtm.com webpage. And those could be really good resources. And once in a while, Abhijit and I, we like tag team to do these Friday workshops just for the folks who couldn't really make it. But of course, Toastmaster is gigantic. You can go to anywhere at any time during the day that fits your schedule. We hope to continue to see you in the community.
Yep, I'll most probably make it. I like this crowd. This was good and supportive. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, thank you. All right, we're out of time. Ravi, we haven't heard from Ravi yet, but Joanna, Ravi, you're there. Oh, yay.
Of course I'm there. Of course I'm there. Great session.
Thank you.
One question though. In Toastmasters, it's a little bit easy to find and mentor somebody. But when you try to do that outside a Toastmaster, it becomes a little weird. People tend to see, what does this guy want from me, sort of a thing. You know, people see pretend or transactional.
Well, if I may break the news to you, oftentimes it is transactional. but you don't have to spell it out, right? To say, Ravi and I have a transactional mentorship relationship. What do you give me and what am I going to get from you? So you don't have to spell it out like that. But for me, at least, like if I feel like I cannot contribute back to Abhijit's life, like I feel guilty of asking for a lot of help from him. But for him, he doesn't care. He like just keeps giving. And I don't know what is going on in his brain, but this service mentality of a leadership that he has is something that I am trying to really drill into myself. So I think I figure out ways on how to help them out for sure. And sometimes even if you couldn't figure out how to help them out, that's okay too. Like it may have to take some time. Like for example, Solazar, who's another great Toastmasters in the ecosystem. He helped me out to say that like, oh, Renee, that podcast you did on gene analysis, let's do it better. So we revisited that again. And then he even re-recorded it with me, not even for any projects. He just want me to be better. And I was like, wow, like he's now like becoming my mentor. And then I kept on asking him, what can I give you in return? I feel like I cannot contribute anything in your life, you know? He was like, oh no, Renee, don't worry about it. But I still have that. I was like, okay, I'm going to keep observing, like whenever I get to see him, whenever I get to like actually think about it, he's part of my studying plan. Whenever I get an opportunity to really reciprocate, I want to help him out. And I asked Abhijit, you know about Solazar. What else do I need to know about him? Oh, I learned that he's a veteran. On Veterans Day, I reach out to him, thank you for your service, right? So try to make it a bit more personal every single tiny step that you take. Get to know a little bit more about this person. Like Solazar probably doesn't know that I'm talking about him right now. He doesn't know that I consider him as my mentor, but his help to me was huge. And I'm going to contribute back to his life in however way that I can. So I know that's like a Toastmaster example, but it's similar to how I approach my mentorship outside of Toastmasters. How can I figure out a way to add values? And especially if these mentors actually have generously given me something. I hope that helps. If anyone else have any other feedback, comments, or advice for Ravi, please feel free to jump in. Oh, see, I just talked about Joanna. Salazar is holding a webinar in D101. Send him people. Okay, see, that will be one thing that I can help. People go to this webinar in Division 101. That's great.
Thank you, Renee, for that great session. We are a little bit over time.
Yes.
So I would like to conclude the session, but people are welcome to stay and talk to Renee and ask her questions. Thank
Great.
you. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Okay.
Renee, the interactive part was the best thing.